There we go. Forgot to put the camera up. So we are first. This is our first live since the big vacation trip. So let's do this right. Howdy, folks. Greyhawk 4x4 coming at you again, your resident vintage gamer. And I thought, I don't normally do a live on Wednesday, but the schedule is still a little screwed up right now. Probably, I'm guessing next week I'll get back on the actual recording schedule that I have down below. Hey, 8-Bit, how you doing? But this is what we're going to do for the show and tell today. We're going to show the contents of this. If you watched my haul video where I showed what I got on vacation, this was the main white whale that I was missing from my collection. So, but we'll go through it today on the show and tell. And the other thing was like the day after I got home, I stepped off my porch wrong and I hurt my foot pretty bad. So the last couple of days I've just been sitting on the couch with my foot up, and I'm on some pretty gnarly pain meds. But I figured, well, what the hell? Let's do a live and see what happens. So needless to say, no beer drinking or any kind of drinking for me whatsoever while I'm on these pain meds. So, yeah, and that was one of the things I was going to talk about. This is one of the shirts I got while I was on the trip. The Wizard of Lake Geneva. So if you go to the Lake Geneva, the city museum, they do not have they're working on it, but they do not have a display for Dungeons and Dragons yet, because that is the birthplace of Dungeons and Dragons. That's where Dave Arneson and Gary Gygax, worked together, and then Gary produced it out of his basement and all that. That was right there in Lake Geneva, so it's considered the birthplace of D&D. And they are doing for the city museum, they're doing a display, and Mike Carr of original TSR fame, he is helping to curate that. I asked the museum people, and they said that Mike Carr is the one who's helping them do the display and everything. So unfortunately, it wasn't finished for us to see or take pictures or anything like that. But they do have shirts that they're selling that say the Wizard of Lake Geneva. So this is just one of the shirts I got. And I'll wait till we get some more people in here and we can talk about the trip. If we get more people, I have no idea, because like I said, I don't normally do. Hey, Mistra, how are you? And do I have a question for you, Mistra? I had something flash across my Twitter feed involving Final Fantasy 14 that I was like, well, there's a question I got to ask, Mistra. Because apparently Final Fantasy 14 has some type of a server. They have they're calling it the erotic role-playing server. I don't know the name of the server, but I know in World of Warcraft they had, I think it was Moonguard was that server that people used for that. And it sounds like there's one on Final Fantasy 14, but it sounds the news report, or the news what do you call it, article or whatever, was talking about how I guess there's a group of people that are guarding the entrance to the server or something like that. They're like some kind of gatekeeping role-playing event type of a thing, and that's why it was on Twitter. The community kind of chose that server for that. Was not intended that way by the devs. Okay. So yeah, anyway, the news thing that I read was just basically saying that there was a bunch of people that got together, a bunch of players that got together and were doing like a blockade kind of a thing. So I thought, well, if anybody knows anything about that, it'll be Mistra. She'll know the 411 on that. And of course, some people that are watching this probably don't. When I say the 411, if you're not of a certain age, you're not gonna know what that reference is. 411 used to be, back in the United States at least, back in the day, on a regular landline. Hey, Sebastian. Um, you could pick up the phone and just dial 411, and that was what we called information. And there would be a live operator that would answer, and you could ask them pretty much anything. You could ask them for um, an address of somebody, if it was a public address of a person or a business. This is before the internet, of course, and you could do that all over the phone with a live operator, and the number you dialed was 411. So it's a slang term that us older folks use. We still say that when someone has the information about a particular topic, we'll say, "Oh, they've got the 411." So, um, it's probably about the billboard someone put up in Texas using not safe for work data mine trademark Square Enix assets on it. Okay. Of course, they had to take it down or get sued by Oblivion. Got it. Roger that. Yeah, thanks, Sebastian. Um, Still got some work to do to the old man cave here, but what we're working on it. Still some upgrades and things I want to do. Uh, if my wife and I decide to stay here, if this is going to be our final home, we have not made that decision yet. We may still move somewhere else. I don't know yet. Um, but if we stay here, then I'll be adding a bar over there. Over there, all that stuff over there will go away. And some of it you can't even see. It's over on the other side of this. So all of this, there'll be a bar there instead. But that's only if we decide to stay here permanently. So um, yeah, I've already had a contractor come in and look at it and say, because there's a clean out right there for drainage, so they could put a sink in, because I want a sink, one of those bar sinks with the big gooseneck, faucet on, so that swivels to the side, so you can wash out like big beer mugs or whatever you need to wash out. You can do that all right there. And then I'd have, like, the microwave, and swap out the refrigerator, have a smaller or one about that size, but underneath the cabinets, and yeah, it'd be a whole thing. But that's um, if we decide to do that. So 8-bit says we went to Lake Geneva about 15 years ago. Only D&D thing in town was the D20 paver by the lakefront, and of course that is still there. That is the little. It's a pavestone that has the D20 on it, and it's in honor of Gary Gygax or whatever, basically saying paying homage to Gary and all that as the birthplace of D&D and so forth. But now they have, so now you have the Dungeon Hobby Shop Museum, which is a D&D museum run by Ernie Gygax and another guy, which I did a video about on my channel, so you can go back and watch. I did video of the whole. It's a small little museum, but I did video of the whole thing, so you guys can go back and watch it if you want to. And then you have the Lake Geneva City Museum, which they're adding a D&D, uh, like, whatever you want to call it, display or whatever. You still have Horticultural Hall, but there's no real D&D reference to that. So there is a brewery now in a church right there, by Main Street. It's an old church that somebody with the full stained glass windows and all, and they've turned it into a brewery. And I posted some pictures, I think, on either Twitter or Instagram or somewhere. I don't think I did a video of that, but it's all kind of hazy, like what I took pictures of, what I did video of, because we did so much shit on the trip, so many different places and so forth. So if you follow me on all the different platforms, you have access to all of it. So let's see here. Um, let's see if we can find that news story. Um, let's see here. So 13 hours ago. Oh, I see the billboard. Final Fantasy 14 players form human blockade to prevent access to infamous roleplay server. Um, Says the earlier this week, the Final Fantasy 14 patch finally debuted the long-awaited data center travel feature, allowing players to visit other worlds to greet others and see what players on those servers were getting up to. Oh, okay. So they instituted a data center transfer thing where I guess you could bounce from data center to data center and have access to other servers, and I guess that's um, causing all these people want to bounce to that role playing server that has the erotic role play or whatever, and it's causing. It looks like it's causing um, latency issues, lag issues, because so many people are. It says here are actually walling incoming tourists from exploring once they arrive. I guess it's um, I guess it's a problem. So the players themselves have created a basically a human blockade with their avatars, with their characters. That's kind of funny. Yeah, it's Balmung. Balmung is the name of the server, I guess. So that's interesting. The players took it into their own hands to. I could see where like if you have this one server that's known for that, and then all these other people, all of a sudden they have access to server bounce and data center travel or whatever to any server they want to, you're going to have this influx of all these people trying to go to that one server. And I could see that crashing the server. I could see it causing latency, lag issues, all kinds of problems. And it sounds like the players have taken the bull by the horns and are blocking people from, once they zone in, they can't go anywhere. There's a human blockade. Right, exactly, Mistra. Mistra says, though I don't think those people are frequent RPing. Yes, the way that the thing is reading, it's basically people that are curious that are bouncing there just to check it out. But the problem is, so many of them are doing it. It's causing problems on the server, and the players don't want it to crash the server because they want access to their server. So they've taken it upon themselves to block. So people zone in, and obviously the players that play there regularly know where these people zone in at, and they basically created a blockade around them so they can't explore. um so yeah, and so they obviously know all the regular people on that server, so obviously if it's a regular person they'll let them through the blockade, it sounds like. But the tourists coming to that server, it looks like they're blocking them off. I mean, hey, that's one of the beauty things of online role playing is players can do that kind of shit. Now, whether or not Square Enix jumps in and tries to do something to mitigate it themselves, or if they just say they just go hands off and let the players handle it, that's kind of, I think they should just let the players handle it. That's kind of cool. So anyway, yeah, I thought that was just an interesting thing I read today about that. So because I think on World of Warcraft, I don't think the players would. I don't think they have enough. They have enough. What's the word I want to use here? Not critical thinking skills, but I don't know if they would be uh, have as much ingenuity to, or even be inclined to do what the players on Final Fantasy 14 are doing there. I think on WoW it would just be one big shit show, and they would end up crashing. It would end up crashing the server. That's what I think. That knowing the player base from World of Warcraft and having played Final Fantasy 14 long enough to see the difference in the player base, yeah, I don't think that if that was Moonguard and WoW, I think it would just get all these people would just come in there and it would crash the server. You know? So let's see if I missed anything here. Um, I think we're all caught up there. Okay. So, like I said, for those that are here, also depends if you're on Alliance, because that's one reason I quit BFA. Not just because BFA was bad, which it was, but Alliance was dying. Everyone was going Horde on my server. Also, as far as I know, most servers, the imbalance was Horde was 2-1 versus Alliance. I've always played Alliance in World of Warcraft, and in PvP we always get slaughtered because we're outnumbered. And the way I put it was, for the Horde players, their mentality was for the Horde, and Alliance players, it was more like, eh, you know, eh, whatever, you know. They didn't. I mean, they're just not. They're just not as ferocious. The alliance players are not that as ferocious about PvP as the horde players are. So anyway, we're gonna do a little show and tell of this. This is the Dark Sun. This is the first edition of the box set. They ended up doing a revised later, but I wanted the first edition one. So this is the one I picked up at Noble Knight Games. Uh, they're in Madison, Wisconsin. Now, the way they graded this was they graded. They have when they do a grading on something like this, they it's a dual grading. They have a grade for the box, and then they have a grade for the contents. And the grade on the box was fair because the box is a little torn up. Not really any torn corners or anything like that, but it's got some worn edges and that kind of stuff. And then so they put that as fair, which I think it's actually probably closer to good, um but the main thing was the contents. Um so they have it, the contents as very good, which I would agree to. So in this box set, there's a lot of stuff in here. You had two sets of cards in a flip thing. It's a very unique items here. The Dungeon Master's rules and the player aid cards. And it has a thing inside. It has a stand for each one of them built in. So this folds out, and it basically folds out where you can stand this up and flip the cards so you can have it standing instead of laying flat. You can have it standing to be able to flip it easier, you know, and everything. Which is it's the only product I know that they ever did this with. But like for instance, the player cards will have like visuals and stuff like that. There's some more, so I have more stuff like that. And so basically, the DM would say, would reference this is the caravan wagon interior, and he or she, the DM would say, flip to that card so they could have a visual of it. And then on the DM side, you have basically a lot of the basically the plot hooks and all the adventure elements and stuff like that. So and I think they're tied together. So and basically that's what so this is what the DM uses, basically their cheat cards. So they have kind of a, instead of having a big book to flip through, they just got these cards to go through. And it makes it pretty nice. So that's the only product I know that had those. And we'll save that to last there. Then in addition to that, you had, hey, Bastille. Who else am I missing here? Sebastian says, remember the Dark Sun Tarask? Nice memories as a DM. Indeed. I've never been able to DM Dark Sun. I never had these rules. I guess I could have done it like through drive-through, the PDF or whatever, but I hate that stuff. But I have a bunch of the Dark Sun adventures, so now I have everything I need if I wanted to DM it. But you get 2 maps. And I'm not going to unfold these because we know what happens when I try to do that on camera. I end up tearing the maps. So you've got this one, which is, I think, of the city. And then you've got the other one, which is the world map. And then, so this box is 100% complete. And I'll show you why in a second. Because not only does it have everything that it should, but it has a couple things. This isn't even listed on the box as for the contents. This is the complete psionics handbook, errata and clarifications. So in order to play this, you have to have that book, the complete psionics handbook about psionics. And this was errata that came, corrections basically, that came out after the fact, and they put it in the box, and that's not even listed on the contents. And it was actually in here. So that's how I know it's absolutely complete. Plus you got all the little postcards and crap, all the little surveys and that kind of stuff. So you got all those, and then of course you got the catalog for 1991. That's in there too. So that's the catalog for all of the D&D products, basically. That was in there, and then so this I believe is one of the adventures. It's called A Little Knowledge. Is one of the adventures, and it's how many pages is this? I'm guessing it's about 18 pages. 15, 16 pages. 16 pages, including there's a couple of additional monsters that they've added in here at the back. So you got the adventure, you got the maps, you got the two sets of cards, one for the DM, one for the players, and then you got two books. You got the rules book, which is obviously for the DM, and you got the Wanderer's Journal, a comprehensive guide to the lands and people of Arthas, which I'm guessing either the DM or players could also use this if the DM allowed. But there's decent artwork in these, and they're all like tricolored pages and all that. But that's the Dark Sun box set. That's the first edition one before they revised it. Oh, and the other thing why I knew that it was complete is because the poster. I guess they didn't all have the poster in them. This is a Dark Sun poster, which I'm also not going to open up any further with because I might tear it. So now I have another poster, but I'm gonna have to start putting stuff on the ceiling because I got no more room on the walls, as you can see. This may end up, if I decide to do it, it'll be on the ceiling. So yeah, I feel like I got a very fair deal from Noble Knight. And again, this was one of my white whales that was very hard to find a first edition complete in decent condition and a decent price. So I was pretty happy with it. So it looks like we have at least one person, Sebastian, who has played Dark Sun. My understanding is that, and there's the cover again, so you can kind of see it's kind of it's a game world where everything is pretty primitive. However, in addition to the barbaric look of in the harsh desert wildlife and all that, it sounds like quite a bit of the population has psionic abilities in this game world, and that's why you have to have the psionics book to go along with it to play it. So I've always been interested in psionics. A lot of people hate psionics, the mechanics of psionics in Dungeons and Dragons. I actually like it. Has any of you that are of it looks like 5 people that are here, have any of you ever used psionics in your campaigns? Because like I said, I like psionics, but a lot of people don't. So, and there are psionic creatures in D&D, like the Mind Flayers, obviously, and there's a couple others that I can't think of the other ones. I want to say that the Intellect Devourer is a psionic creature, and I can't remember. Bastia says I have the expanded and revised box set. So you have the second one, which I may, if I ever stumble upon it, I might get that one too, just to have them both. But I wanted to have this one for sure because it was the only core game world for Dungeons and Dragons that I did not have the box set for. I have Ravenloft, Mystara, Forgotten Realms, obviously Greyhawk, Ravenloft, Spelljammer, and I'm sure there's other ones I'm forgetting that aren't coming to mind right now. But I have them all. I even have the Conan rules. So Planescape, that was another one. I have all of them except this was the only one I was missing. So now I have, in my opinion, I have, for at least for first and second edition, I have a full set of all of the core game world rule box sets. So that was a big white whale for me. So now, having talked about that, because I did hurt my foot, Witcher 3 is so amazing. Every time I play, it seems to find new secrets and side quests and contacts. Um, I need to go back and finish that, Mistra. Uh, and now that I'm done with my big trip, my wife and I have to plan a trip because this is our 30th wedding anniversary year, and we haven't done our 30th wedding anniversary trip yet. So we're planning that. Once I'm done with that, I literally don't have any other big commitments in the future at all with traveling or anything like that, and so I can start getting caught up on a bunch of stuff like that. So, well, yeah, and Mr. our thank you, but our anniversary is actually in wintertime. It's actually in January, so um, it's long past, but we still there's no sense in taking a trip in January because it's just going to be miserable and cold everywhere you go. So we usually wait until like summertime. But because my wife's a hairstylist, she can't take any time off until the kids go back to school. Once the kids go back to school, because that becomes their slow time for hairstyling, um, then we can take a trip. So we're working all that out. So Bastille says that's why I couldn't meet you in Madison. I had my 26th anniversary that week you were away. Well, congratulations, Bastille, but that was just unfortunate. It was unfortunate timing, I guess. Just the timing didn't work out. So yeah, I'm not sure when the kids go back. It's late August. I know they go back to school then, so it'll be sometime after then. You know, while the weather is still warm enough to where we can go someplace and have a good vacation. So haven't decided yet where, but we'll figure it out. So okay, so there is yeah, and it's, I know Witcher 3, it's one of those, once I jump back into it, I'm gonna want to spend a bunch of time. I'm gonna get obsessed, and I'm gonna want to spend a bunch of time not only just finishing it, but I like doing all the side stuff and all that. So, um, but so not only is that on the radar for me, but with our campaign here, Jonathan, who's been DMing, this is his busy time of the year because he works at a nursery where they sell they sell um, plants and turf and decoration, for landscaping and all that stuff. And they're swamped right now. So he's going to take a break from DMing, and Brad, our other DM, is going to take up. So starting this Friday, I think we're going back on Brad's campaign. We kind of rotate around, so we'll be going back to Brad's campaign. So I'll be doing a catch, like a kind of a catch up video or something like that, to kind of uh, get everybody back up to speed on, because the Dolmenwood campaign is on hiatus now for a while. We may or may not go back to it, but at this point it's on hiatus. So we'll be going back to Brad's campaign. So let's see here. Mister, have you been to is it Elfia? Is that how you say it? Elfia? It's in Finland. It's a fantasy festival. I'd never heard of that. By the way, I don't know if you guys got to see the video that I did from Evermore Park. The 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 cell service there was horrible. So I'm not sure how well that video came through, but I did that live from Evermore. That's always a blast. They have a restaurant there now that I think I posted some I think I did a short in the restaurant, which is a huge restaurant based in an old, like looks like an old keep. And the food was good, but they got to work on on the service part of everything there. But other than that, it was pretty good. So I got so because I injured my foot, the last 2 days I've been sitting on the couch with my foot elevated with nothing else to do other than to watch TV. So um, I watched all of Stranger Things season 4. So I'm actually caught up on Stranger Things. Um, I'm gonna have to, Bastille. I'm gonna have to check that out after I am done with this live. I'm gonna check that out. Um, I don't know when my wife and I are gonna be going to Europe, but at some point in the future when she retires, the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna get on an airplane and go to Europe, and we're gonna stay in Europe as long as we want to. We're not gonna we're gonna take an open-ended tick we're gonna take open-ended tickets and go, and we will come back when we're ready to come back. Because if we're gonna go to Europe, we're only gonna do it once, and we're gonna see everything that we want to see. So no, there's one more season, DG. There's gonna be a season 5, and it's coming out in 2024. Um, so uh, yeah, there is one more season in 2024, but it's like it's over 2 years away. So um, they've already announced that. So what do we think about Rings of Power? I see both sides. The anti-woke crowd is being a bit too ridiculous, and there's also a few concerns, like the elves look more to me like city elves from Dragon. Um, and Bastille throwing the 411 reference back at me. Well done, Bastille. Um, I have been purposefully avoiding the previews. Um, Hi Yuri. Um, because I've noticed with most movies and TV shows recently, they show too much. They give away too much, I think, in the previews and the sneak peeks and all that shit. And for me, it kind of ruins the experience because, um, I mean, I can't think of one off the top of my head, but there's been a couple movies where basically you watch all the previews, you basically know the whole story of the movie. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous. So I've been kind of avoiding it, but I do know the controversy you're talking about, Mistra, with the anti woke crowd versus the traditionalists and all that. Um, so yeah, because back in the day, Yuri, like you're saying that, like back in the day, go back a decade or more, uh, previews were pretty careful on not giving away too much because they didn't want to spoil the film. And they wanted to tease people so they wanted to go see the movie rather than seeing so much information and so much content in the previews that they go, well, I don't need to go see it. I got the gist of it. I don't need to go see it. Um, so, but things have changed, you know. If you take the first Jurassic Park, not only were there no pictures of the dinosaurs, any of the dinosaurs ever released before the movie came out. The preview didn't show any dinosaurs in the previews. Did not show any dinosaurs because they wanted people to experience seeing the dinosaurs and the realism of their depiction of the dinosaurs the first time they wanted to see them in the theater. So, um, that is correct, Yuri. Yeah, there was no, all you did see the foot of the T Rex. The only thing you saw in the preview was the foot of the T Rex come crashing down. You didn't see the whole dinosaur or any of the other dinosaurs, just the one foot. All that was a teaser to basically say, um, hey, Lindis. So, Mister says, I'm more in the middle. I don't think the show is politically driven. but some changes to dwarves, elves, and Galadriel, particular, just a bit off visually. I won't care if the writing is amazing though. Yeah, I'm gonna withhold my opinion till I watch like at least the first episode when it comes out. What is it, September? Um, I I know that they're trying to capitalize on the Tolkien magic of that world and all that, and there are I'm in the U.S., Yuri, um, and I understand why some of the traditionalist people are having issues with them changing too much based upon what he wrote. I kind of have a problem with that too. Um, as far as it from the like woke standpoint, I don't I don't see like I agree with you. I don't see that as it being politically motivated. More, I think it's more profit motivated. So I'm gonna have to watch and go from there. But from Kenya, well, I've never been to Africa at all. So the closest I was ever to Africa was probably when I was in Greece. That's probably the closest I was ever. Um, we'll definitely watch, but going with low expectations, the Lord of the Ring movies are set the bar really high. Um, so Linda's, because I don't want to trying to get caught up here and make sure I address everybody's comments. Linda's, yeah, I haven't seen the last. I saw Jurassic World, and I did not see the one after that or the one that just came out. This last one that just came. I haven't seen either one of those. But again, I worked on the first two. I provided the security officers for the first two movies at Universal, and then I ended up leaving Universal and going back to start another branch. And I had a bunch of other clients and stuff. So I'm kind of biased for full disclosure when it comes to the first two movies because I got so so yeah, I think they could have stopped after two myself. I mean, I wasn't even sure they were going to do a second one at first, and then they came out and did the second one, and it was like, um, I didn't, again, like you said, Linda's, how many can they make, before they bleed that dry? And hopefully this is the last one. Mr. says, I've been to Greece. I was at the Athens docks and islands, amazing place. We took a sailboat out on the ocean, so nice. So I was on the island of Crete um, twice. Uh, when I was in the army in Europe, in Germany, I was in what they call a missile battalion. And what they would do is they would send us over to a installation on the island of Crete that all the NATO countries would send their missile battalions to practice firing missiles, real missiles, into the ocean. Just kind of like North Korea does now, where they fire theirs into the ocean and everything. We would do that from the island of Crete, and we'd fire them into the Mediterranean Sea. So I got to go twice, and uh, it was beautiful. It was absolutely gorgeous. We got to we were there for exactly a week each time, and you would you would have to we would get there, I think, on a Saturday. Sunday was practice, like going through all of our procedures and everything. And because you had to be evaluated, that was part of the gig, was you would get evaluated, your team would get evaluated on the procedures and everything for launching the missile and everything. And you would go up against another team, and whoever was graded higher got to fire the live missile into the ocean, into the Mediterranean Sea. The other team would do a fire mission with a backup and do everything except fire it. And if the first one didn't fire, if it had what we call a hang fire, then the second one would get to fire the round. Um, and the two times I went, once we won, so we got to fire the live round, and the other time I went, We came in second, so we did not get to fire the round. So, but we did get to fire once. My team specifically got to fire one. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't know about an illustrious life, but I don't think it's going out a stretch of imagination to say I've had a very interesting life because I got to do that stuff in the army and during the Cold War, and I was there when the wall fell and all that stuff. And then when I came back and got into the security career, I worked at Universal Studios, and then I had a bunch of other clients like Disney and everybody else later in the security industry. Um, and so, yeah, I mean, and then there's been stories within gaming that have been pretty interesting as well. And I've told pretty much all of them now. If you go back, I've had this channel for like 10 years, so I've pretty much told all the stories um, that there are to tell, really. So yeah, so we're caught up on Stranger Things. I got to get caught up on The Boys, the TV show The Boys. Um, I haven't seen the latest season. Um, this is season 3 of The Boys, I think. Um, and I enjoyed the first two, obviously. Um, and I mean, it's different. Uh, it is a different experience than any other show I've ever seen before. So, and then I don't know if I'm gonna watch the Umbrella Academy. Um, if anybody else has seen, I made it through about the first half of the first season of the Umbrella Academy, and I don't know why I dropped off because I was enjoying it. But um, Mister says we played football, soccer, two on the island, but the hotel we were at, even staying on, gave us the okay. Okay. Um, yeah, I consider myself cultured enough, Mistra, and having lived in Germany or in Europe for 3 years, when I hear anybody say the term football, that unless they're like an American friend of mine that I know they're talking about the NFL, American football, unless I know that, I just assume they're talking about soccer. So, yeah, and I watch all of the British crime drama shows, literally everyone they've put out, pretty much. So, yeah, if I hear the term football, I'm going to assume it's soccer, unless I know it's somebody like an old army buddy or somebody from the U.S. that I know they're talking about the NFL. Other than that, I just assume they mean soccer. So, um, Bastille says we're watching the Orville. So I watched 2 episodes of the Orville, and I think I forgot about it, but I was enjoying it. The first 2 episodes were awesome. Is it still Bastille? Is it still kind of tongue in cheek, like as kind of a spoof on Star Trek, or have they taken it in a serious direction, like as an alternative to Star Trek, or is it still both? Is it still kind of like a spoof, and they're doing it like there's like some drama elements to it? Because that was the feeling I got after the first couple episodes, that they could go either way. They could continue just doing it as a parody, or they could actually turn it into something more than that, deeper. You know. So DG says saw Umbrella Academy, didn't like the way season 1 ended. I haven't made it to the ending, so um, I've heard what I have heard through the grapevine is that season 2 of Umbrella Academy was not very good. So it's airing now, new season. Yes, it is, but I think it's gotten more serious this season. Okay. Season 4. Wow. Season 4. Holy crap. Um yeah, and it's more serious, but there are a few zingers here and there. So that's kind of the direction that I felt they were going to take it. I had a feeling they were going to it started off just as kind of a spoof parody of Star Trek, but I had a feeling they might, if it got popular and kept getting picked up, that they might take it in a more dramatic direction, um, with some comedy elements, I'm sure. But So yeah, I may have to finish watching that too. Um, while my foot heals, I'll have plenty of time to start getting caught up on some stuff. Um, and Mister, by the way, since you and I had our conversation about Nerdrotic and heel versus babyface and those guys that do Friday Night Tights and that stuff, where we talked about how they always focus on negative, which for the most part they do. I was on my drive back, which I haven't told you guys about. I drove the what was it, 2,000 miles in like 2.5 days. I drove it back. So what I did was I put my phone on YouTube and I put like the podcast for Nerd Rock and stuff because they're like 4 hours long. So I'm like, well, that's for those long stretches. I can just listen to that. They addressed they addressed the issue about them being accused of being overly negative and all that. They addressed that in one of the podcasts, um, and they basically said that they call it like they see it. They haven't been happy with most of the stuff that's been coming out, TV shows, movies, etc. But they did mention a couple of exceptions that they do like. They loved this season of Stranger Things. They didn't care for season 3, but they loved season 4, and they loved Top Gun Maverick. So I have to give them credit and say, okay, when they do have, it's rare, but when they do have something I like, they have been reporting on that. So that is, like you just said there, that is a fair response. And so I see their standpoint. If something they just don't like, that they're gonna, but it just seemed like with the thumbnails, always putting negative in big bold letters, and it seemed like they were harping on that, but they did address it. So I respect them for addressing the topic, and and then going on record as saying what they that there are people out there doing things that they do like Stranger Things season 4, Top Gun. So um and the last Spider-Man movie, I know they like that too. Um so there's the fact that they addressed it is pretty cool. So yeah. Yeah, and it was great entertainment for driving. What was it? I think the total was like 23 hours of just driving time. Um, um, DG says, I'm a little annoyed to hear that there's a Stranger Things season 5. And well, they've already said that will be the last season 5 will be the last one. And they announced that when they did 4, they said that the last one would be 5. And the question now is, I just read a article today about, because it's not coming out till 2024, how they're going to handle the time jump and the actors aging, because the actors are all, they're getting older now, and by 2024 they're going to be considerably, and they're all going through their growth spurts. So they're going to have to address, they're like, how are they going to address, how are they going to write that into the story that they've gotten, because you're talking another 2.5 years probably before that one comes out. So now it depends on when they film it, but it's going to be interesting to see how they work that in. Um, and I'm not going to go into anything potentially spoiler like here, because there are some, they did leave some storylines open, so we'll have to see. For me personally, I like longer shows. For it only matters if the quality suffers or not. If Orville remains as good as it's been, I don't care if it's 10 seasons by the time it finishes. Hey, Colin, how you doing, man? Um, yeah, I didn't expect to see Mr. or Colin, considering how late it is over there. But thanks for popping in, both of you. Um, and I don't know what time it is in Kenya, so uh, our Yuri from Kenya, if they're still around, I don't know what time it is there. So that's even further, I think. Um, so how are you liking Far Cry 6, Colin? You enjoying it? For me, my favorite was probably Far Cry 5. That was probably my favorite of the series. Um, and I didn't hear great things about 6, but yeah. So if you're loving it, that's awesome. Oh, we got to talk about before we end this thing. We got 10 minutes to go. We got to talk about the Steam sale, guys. Is anybody picking anything up on the Steam sale? Because there's a lot of good deals out there. And I think I spent $40 yesterday. I got some stuff on my wish list. I got all of the Dungeons and Dragons gold box titles because they had a package deal for all of them, and it was like $24 to get all of them. So um got 75% of the way through Far Cry 6 and the save got corrupted. Ooh. Wow. Any suggestions as far as the Steam sale, DJ? Is that what you're asking? Because I saw that I may have to pick up Black Ops 3 because it was pretty cheap. And, you know, those damn EA games they don't have deep discounts a lot of the time. So I may have to pick that one up because I just like those I like just for the campaign. I don't do the multiplayer shit anymore. So, um, well, see, and that's the thing with Far Cry 6. The bastards signed an exclusive with Epic Games. Ubisoft signed an exclusive with Epic, so you can only get through Epic. If they had it on Steam, Steam automatically has cloud sync. So I don't know that you'd have a problem with a corrupted game, a save game, because it's synced to the cloud. Um, so, um, but I don't know. I'm obviously Epic doesn't. If you launch through Epic, maybe, and maybe you use the Ubisoft launcher, so maybe they don't save to the cloud either. So let's see if I can find some recommendations here. Let's go to the one I was hoping for. I was hoping Elden Ring would be on sale, but it is not on sale. Black Ops 3 is under $20, $19.79, 67% off. So that's one I might get. And then I'm thinking about maybe getting. Oh, I need to pick up Horizon Zero Dawn. That was the other one. That's 50% off. It never goes any deeper than 50% off. I wish it would go like 66 or 70% at least at some point because it's an older title now. Um, that's $25, but I may have to bite the bullet because I want to play the other Horizon or the second one. Um, Batman Arkham Knight is only $4. Um, uh, the Borderlands franchise is on sale pretty good too. I never did play the original Borderlands. I started with Borderlands 2, so I might pick up the original Borderlands because it's pretty cheap right now. I think it's only $9. So Mister says, well, on PlayStation, you can manually upload to Sony's own cloud servers. I don't know about PC and Epic. So um, for Steam, those of us that play on Steam, you can set it up. It's in the options to automatically, and not every game does it, but the ones that have cloud sync available on there as an option, you can set it up to automatically cloud sync all of the games that qualify for that. And that's what I do. So any game that I have that qualifies for cloud syncing is automatic. It automatically does it for me. So, oh, Bastille with the dad joke there at $4 for Batman. It feels like you're robbing them. Colin says Steam Cloud Sync has saved me a few times. It saved my ass with Fallout 4. I would have put my fist through the drywall right here. Um, if it wasn't for the cloud sync on Fallout 4, because I had put so many goddamn hours into a character there. and on my hard drive, it was that's how I found out about Cloud Sync. Because I didn't even know it was a thing. I just saw the little icons and I didn't know what they stood for. And um, somebody said I went into the comments or something, and they said, "Oh, just restart Steam, exit Steam completely, restart Steam. It'll sync all of your saves with the cloud down. If it's not synced, it'll fix it from the cloud." And that's what saved my ass because mine was corrupted and I was gonna freak out. So yeah, um, yeah, that was one of those where like, oh, not no, not after I don't know who knows how many hours. I was like over level 100, I think, on a character. It was ridiculous. Yeah, I would have flipped out. So, hey, Bipedal is here. Bipedal coming in right at the last minute. um, so yeah, so I'm gonna try to get back on track. We're back at the table playing our campaign. It'll be Brad's campaign now, starting back up as I explained. So we'll get right back into the flow of things about doing campaign updates. Um, and then we'll go right back to the regular schedule of uh, whatever it is. Was it Tuesdays and Sundays or whatever, or Thursdays and Sundays are my lives, and the rest of it, the whole thing. We'll get back into doing the whole thing. Um, but Bipedal, we were talking about all getting caught up on TV shows, and then a little bit about my trip, and the fact that we're going back to Brad's campaign at the table, and I did the show and tell of this, so you can go back and watch it on replay. I did the whole unboxing of this, so we covered a whole bunch of stuff. So, um, and you can when you go through the replay, you can also look at you can get a gist of it just by going through the chat too. So, Mistra, there is no limit of cloud saves. I have a friend who has like 1,400 games on Steam, and all the ones that you can cloud. There's no limit. You can, as long as you own a game through Steam and it has cloud sync, the ability to cloud save as a feature for that game, you can do it. So yeah, yeah, they don't. I've never seen it, and like I said, he's got over like 1,400 games. So I feel like an amateur because I just hit 700 games on my Steam library with the few that I just bought on the sale. He literally has twice what I have. That's insanity. Because there's no way, even at 700, there's no way I'm ever going to get caught up on my backlog of stuff on Steam. My problem is I get into a game and I'm obsessed with it and I play it for a long time. Meanwhile, there's other games on my backlog that don't get touched. Yeah, bipedal. I have. You can follow me, Greyhawk 4x4 on Steam. You can see my profile. I just hit 700 today or yesterday when I bought those games. And like I said, my buddy has like over 1,400. Um, he's he's ridiculous. Yeah. There's a group. There's a group on Steam. There's a Steam group that called the Game Collectors. He's a member of that. And the minimum, I think I qualify. I think the minimum is 700 games. Then there's a more elite one. I think you have to have 1,000 games to get into the elite group. And Mister, and I'm not even counting GOG. My GOG, which I think I may have. I probably have close to maybe 100 on GOG, maybe. Um, so, and some of those are duplicates, um, because there were games that were ended up on Steam so cheap that like there was one Amazon. I just bought that on the sale. It was 59 cents for Amazon. It's an old adventure title, but it was 59 cents. So I had to get it, even though I already have it on GOG, because who knows, GOG could shut its doors at some point or whatever, And for 59 cents, now I've got it on Steam too. So, yeah. So I do have some duplicates like that. All right, guys, we're at an hour. Is there any last minute questions about the trip or anything like that? Um, you guys can always follow me on all the other social media stuff. You can DM me if there's questions that you have that you forget and you want me to cover in the next live or whatever. Um, yeah, Bipedal. The Steam sales are dangerous for me because I will spend guaranteed. Yeah, that was from the Lake Geneva, um, uh, the museum there, the city museum. Um, yeah, I'll spend minimum $40 every time there's a Steam sale if I'm lucky. Um, the next D&D session is this Friday, so today's what, Wednesday, so 2 days. And so that means I'll be doing a campaign update the following, either over the weekend or Monday at the latest. And will you review the Lord of the Rings episode? I will. Absolutely. Absolutely. We can absolutely do that. Let's see what else. I would give my review of, well, I can give you my review without giving any spoilers on Stranger Things season 4. I enjoyed it. I I well, I don't want to say too much because it will be spoilers. So let's just say I enjoyed it. So um I liked season 4 better than I liked season 3. We'll say that. So Lord of the Rings series for me will be like the new Star Trek, and Halo won't watch it. Well, I've heard the new Star Trek is actually really good. So and the fact that I never played Halo, I have no interest in the Halo series. So all right, guys, I'm gonna go spend some time with the wife and put my foot back up so it can finish healing. So until next time, we will catch you guys on the flip side.